We are going to continue our work this week with fractions. We left off last week with comparing fractions, and we're going to carry that into our lesson today. And what we're going to do is we're going to compare and then use that comparing work to help us order our fractions. So as always, if you need any materials to help you during our lesson today, pause the video and go grab those now. Before we start comparing, I wanted to talk about something that we used on comparing during the school year called benchmark fractions. So as you remember, a benchmark fraction is a fraction that is easy to visualize and use. And when we were working on comparing fractions during the school year, we used the benchmark fraction 1/2 because it was very easy to visualize a half and know what was more than a half and what was less than a half. And we spent a lot of time comparing things to a half when we started working with fractions. So today when we do our ordering, I'm also going to refer to the benchmark fraction 1/2 and use that strategy today. So the first problem we're going to look at is Ray skated 2/5 a mile, Lisa skated 3/5 mile, and Caden skated 1/2 mile. Write these distances in order from least to greatest. Now, one thing you know about Miss Murdoch is I always like you to really pay attention to the problem and whether or not it's asking you to go from least to greatest or greatest to least, because that does matter in the order that you're placing things. So this problem is saying least to greatest. So I like you to always make your line, and this one is saying least to greatest. So I like to put an L over here and a G over here. So it says least to greatest. So get that on your board now or your notebook paper. So we're going to try two different strategies with this same problem. So we're going to first compare to a benchmark fraction on all of these. And right away, if you look at this problem, we have a benchmark fraction in this problem. So I have 2/5, 3/5, and 1/2. And I told you that the benchmark fraction that we'd be using is 1/2. So I can place 1/2 on here. All right, so I've already used 1/2. So I can check that off. So then I need to see on a number line, where would 2/5 and where would 3/5 fall in comparison to the benchmark fraction 1/2? So if I look at 2/5, is 2/5 greater than or less than 1/2? Well, I've got to think, what is half of 5? And I know that half of 5 is 2.5. So that would make 2/5 less than half because 2 is less than 2.5. So we know that 2/5 would go right here, and we would put 2/5 on this side of half because 2 is less than 2.5, so that's less than half. So I can check that one off. Then I look at 3/5, and I know that 3/5 is more than half because 2.5 is half, so 3 would be more than half. So 3 would go on this side, and I would put 3/5 over here because it would go 2, 2.5, 3. So I can check this one off. And now they're ordered from least to greatest. So these are in order now. Okay? So I know that Ray skated the least, Caden was in the middle, and Lisa skated the most. Now I'm going to show you another strategy that we can use to order fractions. So we worked on comparing last video by finding a common denominator. So I think of each of these. I know that 2 can't go to 5, so I think of the next multiple of 5. It goes 5, 10. And I think, can 2 go to 10? And yes, 2 can go to 10. So I'm going to set each of these to 10. 10, 10, and 10. So I think, how does 5 get to 10? 5 times 2 gets to 10. And we know whatever we do to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. So 2 times 2 is 4. So we know 5 got to 10 by multiplying times 2. So we have to take the top times 2. 3 times 2 is 6. And then down here on the final one, how did 2 get to 10? 2 times 5 equals 10. So we're going to take the numerator times 5, and it's 5/10. So I created equivalent fractions where they all had the same denominator. So we have 4/10, 6/10, and 5/10. So I can easily put these in order from least to greatest now by just looking at the numerator, because they all have the same denominator. So I know that 4/10 is the smallest. 4/10 is the same as 2/5, so I can put 2/5 here and check that one off. The next one would be 5/10, which is the same as 1/2. I can check that one off. And finally, 6/10, which is the same as 3/5. And sure enough, I got the same exact answer doing it this way as well. So let's try another one. This one I'm going to again order least to greatest. I have 5/6, 1/3, and 1/6. So if I look at this one, it would make sense to make all of these have the same denominator, since I don't have a benchmark fraction of 1/2. So I can change this one to 6, because if I look at my multiples of 3, I go 3, 6. So I can change this one to 6. How do I get 3 to 6? I take this times 2, which means I take my numerator times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. So now I have 5/6, 2/6, and 1/6. So I can put these in order. And I look at my smallest one. Is 5/6, 2/6, or 1/6 the least? And I know that 1/6 would be my smallest. Then 5/6 or 2/6, well, I know that 2/6 is smaller than 5/6. So then I would have 1/3. I'm going to give it its original name. And then I have 5/6. So this is now in order from least to greatest. Let's try another example. So on this one, I have 5/6, 3/4, and 8/12. Again, I want to go least to greatest. So if I look at this, I don't have a benchmark of 1/2, but I think of my multiples and see if any of them can go to my largest one, which is 12. So I go by 6's. 6, 12, yep, I can get there. Let's try 4's. 4, 8, 12, I can get there. So I'm going to switch both of these to 12. All right, so I know I do 6 times 2 to get to 12. So I have to take my top times 2. 5 times 2 is 10. And then I think of my 4. I went 4, 8, 12. So that was times 3. So I have to take my top times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And then that one just stays 8/12. So again, least to greatest. My smallest one is going to be 8/12. Check it off. Then I look at my next smallest would be 9/12, which is called also 3/4. Check it off. And then finally I have 10/12, also known as 5/6. Check it off. And that is now in order from least to greatest. Let's try one more problem. So this time it's asking us to order from greatest to least. And I look at them, I have 1/2, 3/5, and 2/10. So I see that I have a benchmark 1/2, so I'm going to put 1/2 right there in the middle, check. And then I can just compare these to the benchmark. So I know that 3/5 is greater than 1/2 because 1/2 of 5 is 2.5. And I know that 2/10 is less than 1/2 because 1/2 of 10 is 5. So then I can just put these on my number line according to 1/2. So this was less than 1/2, so I'm going to put 2/10 over here. And this was greater than, so I'm going to put greater than half, so I'm going to put 3/5 over there. All right, so today we worked on comparing and ordering fractions. We used the strategy of comparing to a benchmark fraction, and we also used finding a common denominator. So when you do your practice problems today, you'll be trying both of those things out. Don't forget, it's always important to really pay attention. Is the problem asking you to find the greatest to least or least to greatest? So pay attention to that as you're answering the questions today. Also, finding that common denominator is very helpful because even if this problem, if I struggle to find half, because sometimes that's a problem, you could always change this to a common denominator, get this to 10 times 2, and make this 6/10, and then you would have been able to see that your answer was correct. So if you struggle to find half, do that as well. Okay? All right. See you next time.